Let me begin by saying this clearly and without ambiguity. Nothing that is truly yours can be delayed, denied, or lost. The appearance of delay is not a failure of the law, nor is it an indication that something has gone wrong. It is simply a misunderstanding of how creation works. Man does not create by effort. He creates by assumption. And every assumption, when persisted in, hardens into fact. This is the law that governs all manifestation, whether one is conscious of it or not. Most people believe that life happens to them. They believe events occur because of external causes. Other people, circumstances, chance, or time. But I tell you, nothing happens to you. Everything happens through you. The world you experience is a faithful mirror, reflecting back to you the state of consciousness you most consistently occupy. When you say, "It has not happened yet," what you are truly saying is, "I am conscious of not having it." And consciousness is the only reality. Time, therefore, does not delay manifestation. Consciousness does. Now let us speak of this idea of timing, for it is greatly misunderstood. People imagine that timing is something outside themselves, that there's a season fixed in advance when a desire may or may not be fulfilled. They speak of waiting for the right time, as though time were a gatekeeper deciding when they are worthy to receive. But time is not an external ruler. Time is a measure of movement in consciousness. When you change states, you change time. When you remain in a state of longing, time stretches endlessly. When you enter the state of fulfillment, time collapses. You have experienced this yourself. Think of a moment of joy when you were fully present and fulfilled. Time seemed to pass quickly. Now think of a moment of waiting, doubt, or fear. Time seemed endless. This alone should tell you that time does not control you. Your state of consciousness does. Creation is finished. Every possible state already exists. You are not creating something new. You are selecting a state and occupying it. And the moment you occupy it inwardly, it must externalize. The difficulty is not in creation, but in persistence. Man begins in faith and ends in doubt. He imagines a wish fulfilled, feels it for a moment, and then returns to observing the world of appearances. When the world does not immediately conform, he concludes that nothing is happening, but something is always happening. The invisible movement is the most important movement. Seeds do not grow in the light. They grow in darkness. And if you were to dig up the seed every day to see whether it sprouted, you would destroy it. So it is with your assumptions. When you imagine and feel something to be true, you have planted a seed. Your responsibility ends there. The unfolding belongs to a deeper intelligence than the reasoning mind. The how is not your concern. The when is not your concern. Your only responsibility is to remain faithful to the assumption. Faith, as I use the word, is not hope. Faith is loyalty to an unseen reality. If you were loyal to the idea of being the person you desire to be, you would not ask when it will happen. You would live from that state now. You would think from it, feel from it, and respond to life from it. This is what I mean by living in the end. Living in the end does not mean pretending or forcing emotion. It means accepting inwardly that what you desire is already accomplished. It is an inner knowing, a settled feeling, not an emotional frenzy. When that knowing is reached, effort ceases, anxiety dissolves. And this state of rest is what I have called the Sabbath. The Sabbath is not a day of the week. It is a state of consciousness. It is a moment you stop trying to make it happen and instead rest in the certainty that it is done. And let me tell you something important. The Sabbath always precedes manifestation. If you're still striving, checking, wondering, or worrying, you have not yet entered the Sabbath. You are still trying to help the law, but the law needs no help. Now, many will say, "But I have imagined, and nothing has happened." To that I reply, you imagined, but you did not persist. Or you imagined, but you continue to occupy the opposite state. You cannot serve two states. You cannot feel fulfilled inwardly while constantly affirming lack outwardly. The dominant state always wins. The world is slow to change, but it is exact. It will not rearrange itself until you have fully shifted within. And when it does, it will do so in a way that seems natural, logical, and inevitable. This is why manifestation often appears sudden to the observer. They say, it happened out of nowhere, but it did not. It was ripening invisibly. Nothing comes too late. Nothing comes too early. Everything comes when you are no longer in conflict about it. If you desire something and feel tension around it, you are not aligned with it. Alignment feels like peace. It feels like acceptance. It feels like, of course. When you reach that state, you will no longer be concerned with time, and that is when time yields. Now let us go deeper, for understanding alone is not enough. The law works whether you understand it or not, but understanding allows you to work with it consciously rather than by accident. You must realize that persistence is not repetition of words, nor is it constant visualization. Persistence is remaining faithful to a state of consciousness. It is not something you do. It is something you are. Most people imagine once or twice and then abandon the state when the outer world fails to respond immediately. They return to their old habits of thought, their old reactions, and their old identity. And then they wonder why nothing has changed. But the outer world is the last to change. It is the shadow, not the substance. The substance is your inner state, and that must be changed first and maintained. I have often said that you do not get what you want. You get what you are. Desire is merely a sign pointing to a state you are not yet occupying. Once you occupy it, desire disappears and fulfillment takes its place. This is why the feeling of wanting keeps things at a distance. Wanting implies not having. Being implies possession. And consciousness only expresses what it assumes to be true. Now let me speak of effort, because effort is one of the greatest obstacles to manifestation. Effort implies resistance. It implies that something must be forced into being. But creation does not respond to force. It responds to acceptance. When you accept something inwardly as true, it must express itself outwardly. This is law. But acceptance cannot coexist with struggle. If you find yourself constantly affirming, constantly visualizing, constantly checking, ask yourself this question, why am I doing this? If the answer is fear, impatience, or doubt, then you are reinforcing the very state you wish to escape. The law does not reward intensity. It rewards naturalness. The seed grows not because it is pulled, but because it is allowed. The sun does not strain to shine. It simply is. And in being, it illuminates everything. So must you become with your assumption. There is a point in the imaginal act when something settles. You feel it. It is subtle but unmistakable. It feels final. It feels done. At that moment, repetition becomes unnecessary. To repeat beyond that point is to disturb the seed. Many of you fail not because you do not imagine, but because you do not know when to stop. Now let us speak of revision, for revision is one of the most powerful tools given to man. Every moment of your life is being recorded in consciousness, and what is recorded becomes the blueprint for future experience. If you relive an event in imagination and change it, you change the record. And when the record is changed, the future must follow the revised version. Revision is not denial. It is selection. You are selecting which version of the past you will carry forward. Suppose something undesirable occurs. Instead of accepting it as final, return to it in imagination and see it differently. Hear different words spoken. Feel a different outcome. And then drop it. The revised event becomes the seed. And the future reorganizes itself around it. This is not theory. This is practice. I have seen lives transformed through revision alone. Now we come to what I consider the foundation of all manifestation, self-concept. Your self-concept is the sum total of what you believe to be true about yourself. It is the I am you carry within. You may desire wealth, love, success, or recognition. But if your self-concept is that of one who struggles, one who waits, one who is overlooked, then no amount of imagining will override that assumption for long. The dominant state always wins. Change the concept of self, and everything else changes automatically. If you assume you are valued, you will be valued. If you assume you are chosen, you will be chosen. If you assume you are blessed, life will confirm it in countless ways. Do not concern yourself with many desires. Concern yourself with becoming the person who naturally experiences what you desire. This is why I urge you to define yourself by what you wish to be, not by what you've been. You are not bound by your past. You are not bound by your circumstances. You are only bound by the state you are willing to accept as yourself. Now let me speak of letting go, for letting go is not abandonment. It is trust. Letting go does not mean forgetting your desire. It means releasing your anxiety about it. It means no longer watching the clock, no longer asking when, no longer measuring progress. When you let go, you're not giving up. You are stepping aside and allowing the deeper intelligence within you to take over. And this is where many miracles occur. The moment you stop trying to make it happen, it begins to happen. Why? Because you have removed resistance. Resistance is the only thing that delays fulfillment. Not time, not fate, not circumstance. When resistance dissolves, the manifestation moves quickly, sometimes with astonishing speed. You'll often hear people say, "The moment I stopped caring, it happened." What they really mean is that the moment they stopped resisting, the state was free to express itself. So do not confuse indifference with detachment. You may care deeply and still be detached. Detachment is inner freedom. It is knowing that what is yours is secure, and what is truly yours cannot miss you. Now let us consider doubt, for doubt is one of the most misunderstood obstacles in manifestation. Many imagine that if they doubt, their desire will fail. But I tell you, doubt does not cancel manifestation. It only delays your recognition of it. The desire moves, even when you do not see it. Your doubts are merely a measure of your resistance, not a statement about reality. The universe does not argue with your doubt. It continues to organize, to move, and to bring forth what you have imagined. You must learn to persist in your state of fulfillment, even when your mind offers contradictions. The world of appearances will always challenge your imagination. It is its purpose. But you are not here to be persuaded by appearances. You are here to live in the assumption of your wish fulfilled. Now I will speak of what I have called the bridge of incidents. This is the pathway through which your desire reaches you. It is invisible, often subtle, and sometimes appears as a sequence of chance events, coincidences, or meetings that seem unconnected. But in reality, they are meticulously arranged by the law of consciousness. Every incident that occurs is a reflection of your inner state. And when you have fully assumed the state of your desire, the bridge of incidents begins to unfold naturally. Many will not recognize the bridge because it does not appear in the form they expect. They imagine a direct, immediate, and dramatic fulfillment. But the law does not conform to imagination of timing. It conforms to imagination of being. You must trust the unfolding, remain faithful to the feeling of fulfillment, and allow life to arrange the details. The bridge may be long or short, but it is always exact. Let me explain inspired action versus forced action. Inspired action arises naturally from the state of fulfillment within you. It is effortless, confident, and aligns perfectly with the unfolding of your desire. Forced action, by contrast, comes from the mind of want, impatience, or fear. It is frantic, scattered, and often produces resistance rather than results. You must learn act only when inspired by the inner assurance of already having received. This is how manifestation flows without friction. Consider the difference between someone chasing a goal with anxiety and someone acting from assurance. The anxious pursuer may exhaust themselves, push against circumstances, and invite frustration. The assured actor moves as if the desired outcome already exists, and everything in the outer world bends naturally to support them. The difference is in state, not effort. It is essential to remember that manifestations appear naturally, even when they appear sudden to the observer. You may notice a change in your circumstances and feel astonishment, thinking it happened instantly. But in truth, the invisible work was completed long before you noticed. Your inner state created the conditions, and the law of consciousness delivered the outer result at the exact moment it was aligned with your inner assumption. Now let us speak of the mind, for the mind is the builder. What you occupy inwardly is what you express outwardly. You are constantly imagining, whether you are aware of it or not. The careless imagination creates your unwanted circumstances. The deliberate imagination creates what you desire. To master manifestation, you must become vigilant of your inner conversations, your unspoken thoughts, and your habitual feelings. These are the architects of reality. The imagination is not a place of escape. It is a workshop of creation. You are not pretending or lying to yourself. You are aligning with the reality that is already true. You are taking residence in the end, living as a fulfilled person. The moment you truly feel the state of fulfillment, the law begins to adjust the world to match your consciousness. Doubt, worry, or anxiety cannot prevent what you have assumed, but they can delay your awareness of it. This is why the practice of persistence is crucial. You must keep returning to the state of fulfillment, observing the world only through the lens of the assumed reality, and refusing to validate the illusions of lack. It is also important to understand that the law works in accordance with your dominant state. A fleeting thought of doubt or impatience may pass unnoticed, but when doubt is repeated, strengthened, and allowed to dominate, it becomes the obstacle. Always return to the state of assurance, gently, patiently, and with a calm knowing. This is the discipline of the creative mind. Remember, manifestation is not a matter of willpower. It is a matter of alignment. The world responds to who you are being, not to what you are doing. When you align with your desire as already fulfilled, circumstances rearrange themselves effortlessly. This is the essence of the law. Now, let us touch upon the inner voice. The voice within, the sense of certainty, the I know that rises when you assume your desire, is your guide. Trust it. It is never mistaken. It will guide you to the bridge of incidents, to inspired action, and to the final fulfillment. When you hear the inner voice, you are being directed in harmony with the unseen current that orchestrates your life. And finally, let us speak of patience, not as waiting, but as faithful knowing. Patience is not resignation. It is active faith. It is the confident expectation that the world will align with your assumption. Patience is the bridge between the unseen and the seen. Without it, your state wavers, and the law cannot fully express. With it, the impossible becomes inevitable. Now let us speak of living fully in the end, for this is a cornerstone of all creation. To live in the end is not to imagine what you hope will be. It is to assume the state as already accomplished. To occupy the end is to be the fulfilled person now, in your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. You do not wait for evidence. You live from the reality itself. Most people live as though they are journeying toward fulfillment. They imagine themselves on the path, still lacking, still striving, still hoping. Hope, I tell you, is a form of doubt. It implies that you are waiting for something outside yourself. Faith, on the other hand, is knowing. Faith is living from the end, with the assurance that what you have imagined is inevitable. The difference between hope and faith is subtle but profound. Hope looks outward. Faith looks inward. Hope seeks proof. Faith rests in certainty. Hope measures time. Faith transcends time. The moment you understand this, you see why manifestations often appear to some suddenly and to others never. It is not chance. It is a degree to which one has truly assumed the state. Let us now consider detachment. Detachment is not disinterest or apathy. Detachment is inner freedom. It is the ability to hold a desire, to assume it inwardly, and to release anxiety, neediness, and insistence on particular outcome. When you detach, you are no longer resisting. Resistance is the only thing that delays your manifestations. Think carefully. How many times have you desired something, assumed it in your imagination, and then immediately checked the world, worried about results, or measured your progress? This is resistance. The law moves, but you create friction. By detaching, by allowing the desire to exist without question, you remove the friction and allow the law to deliver effortlessly. There is a moment in the process when you no longer need to chase, argue, or persuade life to conform. You simply live as a fulfilled person. Your feelings are steady. Your thoughts are aligned. Your expectations are unwavering. And from this state, manifestations naturally flow. This is not passive. It is active alignment. It is being the conductor of your inner symphony, letting the music play through you into the world. Now consider the role of inspired action once more. Action is always a result of inner state. You may take countless actions from fear, doubt, or impatience, and they accomplish little. But when action arises from a state of fulfillment, it is effortless, precise, and perfectly timed. Life conspires to meet you where you are. The outer world always responds to the inner. Let me speak further about preparation to receive. Many think that desire is fulfilled only when it appears externally, but fulfillment begins internally. You prepare to receive not by arranging circumstances, but by adjusting your consciousness. If your mind is restless, anxious, or doubtful, the manifestation cannot find a resting place. The fulfilled state is a magnet. Your inner calm draws the desired experience. Consider the subtlety of feeling. Feeling is a language of the subconscious. Thought alone is insufficient. You may imagine events with great clarity, but unless the feeling of having already received is present, your imagination cannot impress the subconscious fully. Feeling, therefore, is the essential element. Feel it completely, as if it has already happened. This is the key to accelerated manifestation. Now, you may ask, what if my desire has not yet appeared externally? To this, I reply, the desire has appeared in consciousness, and the outer world must follow. Patience is required, not to wait for the law to act, but to allow the outer world to catch up with the inner reality. The inner world is always first. The outer world always reflects it. It is also vital to remember that every detail is orchestrated perfectly. Life does not make mistakes. Every encounter, every opportunity, every seeming delay is designed to bring you into alignment with your desire in the smoothest way possible. When you trust this, you are at peace, and peace itself is a fertile soil in which all desires manifest. Finally, consider the silent assurance that comes when you live in the end. You no longer question, you no longer doubt, and you no longer need external validation. The knowing that it is done suffices. This knowing is your power. It is the consciousness that shapes worlds. The moment you inhabit it fully, the universe responds effortlessly. Now let us bring all that we have discussed into clear understanding and practice. You have learned that the world is shaped by consciousness, that what you assume is true within must inevitably express itself outwardly. You have learned that time is pliable, doubt is temporary, and patience is not waiting but faithful knowing. The final principle I wish to impress upon you is trust in divine order. The universe is perfectly arranged. There is no randomness. Every event, every person, every circumstance that crosses your path is orchestrated to bring your inner assumption into outer manifestation. Even delays, seeming obstacles, and coincidences are part of the unfolding. Nothing occurs outside of divine timing. Do not try to force the universe to conform to your understanding of timing. Let go of insistence, release the need to control, and embrace the knowing that what is yours cannot miss you. When you live in this knowing, you act in harmony with the law rather than against it. Your actions, thoughts, and feelings become the melody to which life responds. Let us remember the power of the inner state. You do not change the outer world by struggle, argument, or persuasion. You change it by assuming a state and remaining faithful to it. To assume a state is to occupy it, to feel it, and to allow it to impress upon your subconscious mind. The outer world will then conform naturally, effortlessly, and exactly. Do not measure progress by appearances. The law of consciousness is invisible and precise. Seeds grow underground before they sprout above the soil. Likewise, your desire moves in unseen ways, unseen to the physical eye, but always in accordance with the truth you have assumed. Trust this movement. Do not interfere. And now, let us speak of living in fulfillment. Do not postpone joy, satisfaction, or gratitude until circumstances change. Live from the end now. Feel the peace, the confidence, and the certainty of having received. When you do, you harmonize with the very law of creation. Life then unfolds before you as it must, beautifully, perfectly, and inevitably. Your inner knowing is your compass. When you feel it, follow it without hesitation. Inspired action will naturally arise from this state. These actions are effortless, confident, and exactly what is needed to bring about the manifestation of your desires. You do not need to struggle, push, or convince life. The law is at work, and you need only align. It is often said that miracles are rare, but I tell you, miracles are the natural expression of the law in a mind aligned. To live in the end is to live in a constant miracle. The ordinary becomes extraordinary, and the impossible becomes inevitable. You are not asking for a favor. You are simply taking your rightful place in the creative process. Let us finish with the ultimate truth. What is meant for you cannot be delayed. There is nothing you must do to hasten it, and nothing that can prevent it. The universe is your ally, working tirelessly to express your inner state. Relax, trust, and allow life to unfold. Live in a feeling of fulfillment, rejoice in your imagination, and know with certainty that it is done. In every thought, in every feeling, in every moment, carry the knowledge that your desire is already yours. Carry it silently, steadily, and without agitation. When you do, you will notice the world aligning to match your inner certainty. And when your desire appears, it will not feel foreign or unexpected. It will feel as though it has always been yours, because in truth, it has always existed in consciousness. So I leave you with this. Let go of doubt, live in the end, trust divine timing, and embrace your role as the conscious creator of your life. Everything that is yours will come to you at the perfect moment, in the perfect way. All is well. All is complete. All is already done.